This weekly program opens the phone lines for you to call in live and share your questions or comments. On this program, we discuss the latest news and opinions of things that may affect the lives of those here in Daytona Beach and the nation. So join Dr. Durham for today's program.
Good afternoon, beloved, and welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. So delighted to have you on the broadcast on this beautiful day in the city gorgeous of Daytona Beach, Florida. We are broadcasting live from the studios of Joy 106.3 FM. For those of you who are already coming in on our Facebook feed, we see you arriving, and settle in, get your favorite beverage, sit back and relax. And those who are listening on your phone, in your home, your automobile, your office, wherever you are today, you're tuned in to a great broadcast. I want to just have you sit back, wait a couple of minutes. I do have a special guest who is going to be coming on to the broadcast here shortly. If you were following my Facebook page on yesterday, you saw the announcement of the special guest, and I'm excited. I hope you are as excited as I am that this person is going to be on Let's Chat America. Those of you listening across the country, thank you as well. Today, because my special guest is going to be here shortly, just going to open up with a short segment coming from the Huffington Post. I'm sure that all of you know there was a critical bill on the floor of the House of Representatives, and that bill was, of course, dealing with voting rights. And as expected, there was no Republican support. This comes out of Darius. We see you on the Facebook Live feed. Blessings to you. Of course, this comes from the Huffington Post, this segment of our broadcast today. And for those of you who, we're going to see if, when my special guest comes on, we're going to see if he'll take questions. Not quite sure if he will or not. We're going to be dealing with a remote location where he is, but we'll see if he will be able to take any questions that you might have. So if you're going to call in today, the number to call in on is 386-868-0635. That's 386-868-0635. One more time, 386-868-0635. We're going to kind of be in flux today, a lot of moving parts to the broadcast, but we'll get through it. It's going to be exciting. Don't go anywhere. Stay here because my guest will be on very shortly. But as I mentioned, Darius, we're doing well here in Florida. Hope everything is good with you and your family. The House Democrats passed legislation that would strengthen a landmark civil rights era voting law that was weakened by the Supreme Court over the past decade. And this is a step the party leaders are touting as major progress in their quest to fight back against these horrendous voting restrictions that have been advanced in Republican-led states. The bill, which is part of a broader, it's just one part of a broader Democratic effort to enact what is a sweeping overhaul of the elections, was approved by a vote of 219 to 212 with absolutely zero Republican support. Its Tuesday passage was praised, of course, by our President Joseph R. Biden, who said it would protect, quote, a sacred right, end quote, and called on the Senate to send this important bill to his desk. Hello.
Hello, this is Christine. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm calling to ask Christy some questions?
Yes, I'm going to ask you to call on the other number when he comes on the line. Let me give you the number.
Okay.
The number to call is 386
Yep.
868
868
0635.
0635.
And
Okay.
I'm not sure if he's going to take questions, but we'll try and see if we can make it happen, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry for that brief interruption. As I mentioned, the number to call today, because my special guest is going to be calling in. Nikki, we see you on Facebook. Thank you. My special guest is going to be calling in on the other line. So the line that I want you to call in on today is 386-868-0635. That's the number for you to call today, 386-868-0635. We need to leave the other line open for my guests to call in. So let's get back to the voting rights bill that was passed in the House. Zero Republican support, but the measure faces some pretty dim prospects in the Senate, where Democrats do not have enough votes to overcome the opposition from the Senate Republicans, who have rejected the bill, calling it, quote, unnecessary and a Democratic power grab. All those are code words for the fact that they don't want to advance voting rights that have been restricted by the Supreme Court. The bottleneck puts Democrats right back where they started, with this slim chance of enacting any voting legislation before the 2022 midterm elections. And that's when some in the party are fearing new GOP laws that will make it harder for Americans to vote. But they are not giving up. They are not giving up. They are not giving up. They intend to try to keep moving this legislation forward. Speaking from the floor of the House, the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, said it was imperative for Congress to counteract the Republican efforts, which she characterized as, quote, dangerous and, quote, anti-democratic. Ms. Pelosi said, quote, democracy is under attack from what is the worst voter suppression campaign in America since Jim Crow, end quote. Now, that's a powerful statement coming from Speaker Pelosi, and in my opinion, it's an accurate statement. There is a concerted effort on the part of the Republican Party to do everything they can to restrict your access to the voting booth, because they recognized, and all they have to do is look back at recent history in the 2020 election, when the state of Georgia, because African Americans in large numbers were, one, registered to vote, and two, they got out to vote, Republicans' eyes were opened wide. They recognized that if African Americans have access to the polls and they get out to vote, what's going to happen is they will continue to lose seats in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. So the strategy is quite simple. Restrict voting so that people of color have a difficult time getting to the polls, and if they even get to the polls, they have a difficult time because of ID laws, strict ID laws, that are being implemented in some of these southern states, and cutting back on early voting dates, as well as cutting back on the number of places where you can turn in your ballot should you early vote. So they see the handwriting on the wall. and they're doing everything that they can to restrict the ability for people of color to cast their right to vote. The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, is named, of course, for the late Georgia congressman who made the issue of made that issue a defining one in his career, and it would restore voting rights protections that have been dismantled by the Supreme Court. Under the proposal, the Justice Department would again police new changes to voting laws in states that have racked up a series of violations, drawing them into a mandatory review process, which is known as pre-clearance. The practice was first put in place, this pre-clearance process was first put in place under the Voting Rights Act of 1965, but it was struck down by a conservative majority on the Supreme Court back in 2013. They ruled the formula for determining which states needed their laws reviewed was outdated, they said, and unfairly punitive. The court did, however, say that Congress would come up with a new formula, which is what this bill will do. There's a second ruling from the court in July made it more difficult to challenge voting restrictions in court under another section of this law. The bill's sponsor, Representative Terry Sewell, said, quote, "Old battles have indeed become new again," end quote, enabled by the Supreme Court's rulings. He went on to say, while literacy tests and poll taxes no longer exist, certain states and local jurisdictions have passed laws that are modern-day barriers to voting, end quote, by Representative Terry Sewell, who is a Democrat from Alabama. In many cases, the new bill wouldn't apply to laws enacted in the years since the court's 2013 ruling. That likely includes a wave of new Republican-backed restrictions that have been inspired by number 45's false claims of a stolen 2020 election. And we all know that those claims are absolutely bogus. They're absolutely false. Latoya, blessings to you. Marva, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Latoya, we're certainly praying for you, my dear, hoping that you're feeling a little bit better today. I know you've had a pretty rough week out there, but God is able, and we know that He's going to cover you and bless you during this time as well. Devin, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. But we've got about 2 minutes or so before my special guest will be calling in to the broadcast. Don't go anywhere. Stay on the Facebook Live page. Stay on your radio or your phone, wherever you're listening from, because you don't want to miss this interview with my special guest in just a couple of minutes. He's going to be calling in to the station. James, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Devin, we see you as well. Sharon, we see you coming in on Facebook. Many of you are pouring in right now. Thank you, Marva, for your posts on our Facebook Live feed. We're talking about the restrictions as a result of some of the Supreme Court recent decisions going back to 2013, and the effort by the Democratic Party to enact some new laws related to our voting rights that make it easier for us to vote, to get to the polls, and to cast our ballot. Voting is the signature right of Americans in this country. It is what makes America what it is. A free country where people are able to vote their leaders into office that they feel confident will advance their lives and make their lives better. That's what voting is all about. Putting people in office from city government, county government, state government, the national elections for Senate and the House of Representatives, putting people in those positions that we feel have the best interests of the American people at heart. And if we don't feel they have those interests that are similar to our own, then we vote for the candidate that we feel does have. And we see the concerted effort by the GOP to restrict the ability for Americans to vote. And they're making it difficult for a reason. It's not because they just want to be, it's not just because they're trying to be mean, but it is because they feel that giving more and more people access to voting is not in their best interest. And that's a shame, because their best interest should be the people of the United States, and making life for those people that they serve, making life easier for them, and supplying some of the basic necessities that every government, every democratic government, should give to its residents. And unfortunately, we see how the GOP has, they've always been about money and power. That's number one. Always been about money and power, and big business, and lowering the taxes on businesses to the point where many of those businesses do not pay very much tax at all, if they pay any, and some pay none. That has been the focus of the GOP for decades, making business interests more important than the interests of those of us who are trying to make it from one week to the next week, and in some cases barely making it. Their focus is not on that class of persons. Their focus is on those who are wealthy, who have millions of dollars, and in some cases billions of dollars, to contribute to their campaigns so that they can be reelected over and over and over again. That has been their focus for a long, long time. So in the short term, the vote Tuesday was expected to soothe restive Democrats, activists who have been frustrated, I guess is the best word. Some of the activists have been frustrated by the inaction on the issue of voting rights in the Senate in particular. NAACP President Derek Johnson said he was, quote, encouraged by the bill's passage in the House. But he also offered a thinly veiled threat, pledging to watch closely as the Senate takes it up and, quote, keep track of every yay and every nay vote, end quote. Derek Johnson went on to say in a statement, make no mistake, we will be there on the ground in 2022 in every state that needs a new senator. That sounds like a challenge to those who may want to vote against this voting rights bill. The NAACP seems to be challenging them and letting them know that if they vote nay in the Senate against the voting rights bill that will be coming, the NAACP will have them in their focus, and it appears, at least from what President Derek Johnson is saying, they will be targeting them for their opponent to win the next election. You're listening to Let's Chat America. Stephanie, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Brother Willie, we see you on the Facebook Live feed as well. We're waiting. My special guest will be on the air shortly. He is right now involved in several events that are all going on simultaneously. We were fortunate to get a commitment for my guest to be on our program today. So we're just waiting a few more minutes for his schedule to allow the call to come in here to the station. Don't go anywhere. Have a little bit of patience. We're going to have him on very, very soon. I'm not sure if my guest will be taking questions from my audience today, but he might. So if you want to try and call in while he is on the air, let me give you the number to call. That number is 386-868-0635. That's 386-868-0635. That's the call-in number today. But again, let me caution you, because he is running from one place to another. You know how it is when you are someone that everyone wants to have or see when you're in their area. So we're going to be, he's going to be moving from where he is now to calling in here to Let's Chat America, and then on to the next event that he has. But we will be hopefully we'll be able to get him on. We may have to go over my usual 1 hour of programming, and I've just been given permission by my station manager, who said if I need to go over an hour, I can go over an hour. So if you've got your favorite beverage and you're sitting in your favorite chair listening to the broadcast today, I hope that you're as comfortable as possible. Again, the call-in number will be 386-868-0635. I put a different number on the Facebook page yesterday, but my guest is going to be using that number, so I don't want you calling the number that was on Facebook. Democrats have a slim 50-50 majority in the Senate right now, which means they lack the 60 votes needed in order to advance bills and overcome a filibuster. And the filibuster, as you know, is a relic from the 1800s. It is not, and let me say this too about the filibuster. The filibuster is not in the Constitution. The filibuster is not a law, if you will. It is a gentleman's agreement between Republicans and Democrats that they have honored over the years, and it has now become a tradition, but it is not a law. There's no law that says they can talk from here to eternity and kill bills that come through the Senate. But they have honored the tradition, and the tradition states that when a filibuster arrives or is begun, the only way that you can overcome the filibuster is to have 60 votes in the Senate. And so, once again, when we're talking about voting and the 2022 elections, we need to get more people in the Senate who think like we think. And that means voting in those who have the interests of the everyday working man and woman, the middle class, as their focus. Those are the people who need to be advanced, in my opinion, as the host of this program. And Let's Chat America is an opinion program, my opinion. And so my opinion is we need to advance those who are committed to helping the middle class, the lower, those of us who are struggling in poverty or near poverty. Those are the individuals that care about Americans and their place in life. Those are the people that we should be electing to office. So the 2022 election, very, very critical, particularly here in Florida. We've got 2 senators here in Florida that are part of that grand old party. And there are challengers that are rising up now against Marco Rubio. And we need to be looking at those candidates very, very closely. Can't tell you who to vote for, but look at what they're saying. Look at who they want to represent. Look at what it is that they want to advance forward, and then make your choice. And thank you, Yvette. We see you on the Facebook Live feed. Sharon, my special guest today is going to be Congressman Charlie Crist. That's who we're waiting for to call us any minute now. He is here in the area. He's going to be calling in. So we're asking everybody just have a little patience, and we're hopeful to get him on just about any minute now. But in the meantime, we've been talking about the House vote and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. And it's not even certain that all of the Democrats in the Senate, because we've got 2 very moderate Democrats in the Senate in particular. Kristen Sinema is one, and then the other from the state of West Virginia, and they have the ability to scuttle the Voting Rights Act if they decide that for them it's not something they want to support. And so we need to make sure that we're putting people in the Senate when we go out to the polls in 2022 who have the interests of the everyday American as their focus. If you're just tuning in, it is 29 minutes past the hour. My guest is just a little bit late calling in, but there's a lot going on here in our area today with him, and so we're kind of waiting for those around him to get him through one portion of his visit that he committed to earlier, and he was going to be talking to a group of individuals right here in town. He's got to, at least greet them, speak to them for a minute, and then we're hopeful that we can get him out of the into another room where he'll be able to call in to our program today and talk with us. So be a little patient. He should be calling in just about any minute. And I was hoping he'd be calling in at about 12:15, and it is 30 minutes past the hour now. But that's okay. You know, we know how it is when you're a politician and you're running here and there and everywhere, trying to talk to as many people as you possibly can. And we know when he gets on the air here, he'll be talking with hundreds, thousands of you that listen to this broadcast faithfully every week. So just hold on to your hat and hold on to your seat, because we're waiting for that call to come in. The voting rights bill that is named after John Lewis. John Lewis, Congressman Lewis, fought very hard. Nakenya, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Blessings to you. Congressman Lewis gave blood, sweat, and tears to give all of us the ability and the right to vote here in this country. You all know the story of Congressman Lewis crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge and what happened to him while he was trying to advance voting rights here in America. And we know that his commitment was for every single eligible voter, citizen of this country, to have an easier access to the voting booth. There were some draconian laws in this country that were born out of white supremacy, born out of their desire that African Americans would not have the same rights or the same privileges as others. And so they enacted many of these draconian laws to restrict. And you know some of the stupid things that they had put in place to restrict African Americans from voting, like how many jelly beans were in a jar, how many bubbles were inside of a bar of soap. Just craziness, and poll taxes, where in order to vote you had to pay a poll tax. And these were people who had very little in the way of income. They had very little money. Many of them were sharecropping, and in those days you never came on the right side when you were a sharecropper. You never came on the right side of earning money. The landowner would you had to buy your seeds from the person that you were sharecropping on their land. You bought your seed from them. You bought your supplies from them. You bought your equipment from them. And at the end of the year, you were barely, if you broke even, that was a blessing. But in some cases, you, after working all year as a sharecropper, you still owed the landowner money. And so to put a poll tax on an individual who earned very little, if any, income during the year, it made it almost impossible in a majority of cases for people to have the money to pay the tax that allowed them to vote. So, these are the kinds of things that we have fought against. John Lewis fought hard for, and if you've seen the images of him and the others as they were trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, being billy clubbed, dogs that were unleashed on them, just horrible treatment of human beings wanting to exercise their right to vote in this country. Reverend Cooper, we see you on the Facebook Live feed. Thank you, my friend, for calling in. We're 35 minutes past the hour. I am hoping for my special guest to be calling in about 5 more minutes, right around 12:40. My special guest should be calling in. And for those of you who don't know who my special guest is, it is Congressman Charlie Crist that we are waiting for to call into the station today. You're listening to Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. This is the #1 talk show in the city gorgeous of Daytona Beach, Florida, on Thursday at 12 o'clock. We may run over the hour a little bit today. We're going to play it by ear and see how things are moving. So stick with us. We may go past 1 o'clock. And if we have to, we'll just stick it out and hang here until we can see which way we're going. But he should be calling in just about 3 or 4 more minutes. So I know you want to hear him and his thoughts, and that's why you're tuned in and staying with me as long as you have. So let us continue to encourage our senators. If you feel so inclined to email or phone the office of your senator here in Florida or whatever state you are listening in from today, the Voting Rights Act is critical. And we are hoping that now that the House of Representatives has passed their portion of the bill, it now must move to the Senate. And if there is a filibuster, the vote needs 60 senators if there's a filibuster. If there is no filibuster, or there is a workaround of the filibuster, which has happened in the past. There have been times when bills have hit the floor, and rather than eliminate the filibuster, they came up with workarounds to the filibuster, which allowed for a simple majority to then pass the bills. And quite frankly, a simple majority ought to be what every bill should pass with. It should just be 51 to pass any legislation that comes through the Senate. But the filibuster has allowed, particularly those states in the South that are heavy Republican states, it has allowed them to circumvent the process and to limit, in many cases, legislation, or stop, not just limit, but stop legislation from going forward that they felt was not in their best interest. And usually that meant that those who were lower income, middle class income, were going to benefit more from whatever that bill was entertaining than for their wealthy donors and supporters. And in many cases, bills have been stopped just based on that fact alone. that it would be more beneficial to lower income or middle income Americans than wealthy Americans. And that's a sad state for a whole party to be in. The phone number to call in for my guest is 386-868-0635. That's 386-868-0635. Now, I want to give you a word of caution because my guest is going to be calling from a remote location. We're going to try to make all these logistics work out as smoothly as we possibly can, but he may not be in a position to take your calls. We're going to try. We'll see if he can hear you and if you can hear him once he is on the line. But if that doesn't work out like we hope, then you will not be able to ask your question. We hope that will we can get past that and you'll be able to talk to him. Thank you, Paulette. We see that you're watching. You and Ms. Joan, who is the president of my fan club. Amen. And so happy that both of you are there. So it is now 42 minutes past the hour of 12 noon here on Let's Chat America. I'm hoping that as we look to get my guest on the line, that all of you will share today's broadcast. Especially if you're watching me on Facebook, there is a way for you to share this broadcast with your friends on Facebook. Get as many viewers and listeners into the radio program today as we possibly can. And Facebook is a marvelous thing that allows this to go viral. And I believe we're going to be blessed right now if we can. Hello, this is Let's Chat America. Is this Mrs. Daisy Grimes?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And how are you today?
I am doing well. I'm so happy that you were able to get in to Let's Chat America today. And for those of you who don't know who Mrs. Daisy Grimes is, she is definitely one of the movers and shakers in our community here in Daytona Beach, and she is the co-host of a great radio program called The People's Voice. So Ms. Grimes, I know you're out in the community today. What are you out there doing, and what's going on?
Well, I tell you, I'm out here, and I am with some very important people. And I tell you, it's been an exciting day, and we're going to have one of them to come over, two of them, to come on to talk with you. We're so excited, and you're going to really be happy with your special guest today. You know, we've been talking about the situation with COVID in our community, and, you know, the crisis that we've been in. And want to share with you, I just got a call that one of our judges passed, who was just admitted to the hospital last week, Judge Henderson. So, you know, we've got to work on this and get people out to not only be tested, but also get people out to take this vaccination. I tell you, Dr. Durham, you understand the situation, being community liaison with the city, and I know that you all have been doing a lot. So we just have to keep on pushing this, and our guest is going to talk more about it and share with this community the importance of it, the importance of getting tested and getting the vaccination. I'm knowing that they're going to be walking in this door pretty soon, but let me share some other things that are going on around town with Reverend Durham. Tomorrow at Bethune-Cookman University, the students will be taking the COVID test. I'm sorry, not the COVID test, they will be taking the vaccination. So, and I'm going to stop right now, Dr. Durham, because your guest has walked in, and we are so happy to have him. Now, you want me to tell you who your guest is today?
Yes, please tell us who we have.
Are you waiting for that? I've been holding you out so very long, but I want to tell you we're going to get everybody here to cut down on their voices because we are on air. We are on air.
Excellent.
Okay. And Reverend Durham?
I'm here.
I have with me the former governor of the state of Florida and now the sitting U.S. Congressman for this area, not for this district, but I say he's for the whole state of Florida because he's one of my most favorite governors. Governor, now U.S. Congressman Charlie Crist is with us. Also, former state Representative George Cusack. Would you bid their welcome? I'm going to ask the governor a few questions, and I'm going to turn it over to you to interview him. But there's a few things I want to say about him, and I want Representative Cusack to say hello to you also.
All right. That's absolutely wonderful.
How you doing, Reverend Dr. Durham?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
It's wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. I'm so honored to be in this same room and to be on your show today again. You know how important it is. This election is going to be to us. And what we have to do, we have to make it to the election by having our vaccines and treating this COVID. It's real. And so without any other discussion from me, I'll have you back anytime. You can have me back anytime.
All right.
We'll always have the governor.
That's right.
And he will always. So, Governor, if you would just say hello to us, and I'm going to answer some questions.
Sure.
Then we're going to turn it over to Dr. Durham.
Absolutely. Doctor, it's great to be with you too, and Daisy and Joyce. What an honor to be in your presence again, in your midst, as Joyce likes to say. It's a pleasure to be in Volusia, Daytona, with so many wonderful people, the leadership of the Democratic Party here. And, as Volusia goes, so goes Florida. So we're not here by accident. We're here because it's important. And started out this morning over in Jacksonville, and then came down here. After we finish this interview, we're heading over to Tampa. And really what we're doing is spreading the word about making sure people get the vaccine and wear a mask. And, just those simple things are going to save a lot of lives. And unfortunately, right now, Florida's number one with this pandemic because we have no leadership in Tallahassee. We need a new governor. That's why I'm running for governor, is to provide good leadership that cares about the people, that wakes up every morning concentrating and thinking about Florida.
Thank you, Governor. And Dr. Durham, we're going to turn this over to you, but two things. You know me on my show. I just go at it. The governor and the representative are going to have to hear me go at it. Now, you know, people, my listeners, I have been on you about getting these shots, getting tested, and getting this vaccine. But I've also been on you about the importance of voting, registering, getting out the vote, because, we got a crazy man in Tallahassee right now. You know that. I've said that to you. So I am doing everything on my show, and now I'm coming in on Reverend Durham's show to bring to you someone who I know for a fact was an excellent governor. And I'm just going to share two things that he did. He did a lot of things. Now, first of all, he's so handsome. If I wasn't married, people, he probably could charge me with harassment because he is truly a good-looking man. But on top of that, he's a smart man, and he's compassionate, and he has integrity. Governor, there are several things you did as governor, and I keep calling you governor. I know you are Congressman, but maybe I'm prophesizing too, you know. That's right. But one is that you stepped in at a very critical time, and you appointed Jim Perry as the Supreme Court Justice. You sent it back, and you said, no, you all send me some more names. And I want to thank you for that, because you have always been a fighter to make sure that there was equity in everything that happened in the state of Florida. So I want to commend you for that. you appointed several African Americans to the bench and Judge Harriet to spray for. Now, also, which is very personal to me, and I know to George and all of us here, Harriet T. Moore.
Yes.
You reopened that.
Harriet.
Yes. And you did something that was so bold in opening that back up and making sure that justice was done, even though it was years later. You did that. So I want to go on the air and say to my listeners and to Reverend Durham listeners that you did that when you didn't have to do it. No one made you. You did it because of your conscience and your commitment on equality and equity for all people who live in the state of Florida. So I want to personally thank you. Now, Reverend Durham, I put it in. Yes, sir, please do.
Just in case some of the listeners may not be familiar with the case, I'm sure most of them are, but Harry and Harriet Moore were great education leaders, great civil rights leaders, concentrated on getting out the vote. They lived in Mims, Florida, and unfortunately what happened on Christmas night, back in the early 1950s, somebody came to their house, planted a bomb underneath their bedroom, blew them up and killed them. Tragic, horrible. And there was a little investigation then, nothing resolved. But you're right, Daisy. When I was Attorney General, right before I got elected governor, the same year, in fact, I reopened the case. And we found out that the local sheriff had been involved, that he was affiliated with the KKK, and we brought justice to bear. Even though that individual was already deceased, at least the people knew what the facts were and were able to have some peace in that knowledge, at least. So thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Dr. Durham, I'm going to turn it over to you, but now our listeners see what type of integrity that Congressman Crist has. He was a great governor. He was a great congressman. He's a friend to every resident and every citizen here in the state of Florida. Now I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Durham.
All right.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Once again, to my listeners, we have Congressman Crist with us today, Mr. Charlie Crist, as well as Ms. Joyce Cusack was on just a minute ago. All of us here in Volusia County know the accomplishments of Mrs. Cusack over the years and her leadership that she brought to Volusia County. And we certainly want to thank Ms. Daisy Grimes, the co-host of The People's Voice, and all that she does in our community as well. Congressman, I just have a few questions for you, if you could give me just a moment of your time.
Sure.
Just how bad, Congressman Crist, is the actual rate of infection of COVID-19 here in the state of Florida?
It's so bad that we're number one in America, Doctor, and it just pains me to say that, but those are the facts. In fact, I heard that, we read in the news this morning, 26,000 new cases just this yesterday. A new record, a bad record for Florida. And it's appalling that this is happening, and as you know, and your listeners probably are aware, the other thing that the governor has imposed upon the students of Florida is an executive order saying they can't wear a mask in the classroom. Mm-hmm. Now, I just got a text from my nephew last night that his daughter had contracted COVID. She's now infected. She has the virus, and he's sure that it happened because she was in school in Pinellas County where they don't require masks. Some of our counties have been courageous and fought back. In fact, I think it's up to 10 now that have fought back and said, we're going to defy you, Governor DeSantis, wrong DeSantis, and we're defying the fact that you're not protecting our children, you're protecting your political future, and only doing what the hard right wants him to do, because he's actually really running for president in 24, and he's forgetting about Florida in 21.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Congressman, I'm so delighted to have you on the air today, because right now you're talking to people from Ormond by the Sea all the way down to New Smyrna Beach, and we have listeners from across the United States and even from other countries. What would you say, particularly, Congressman, to Floridians who have not yet taken the COVID-19 vaccine?
Well, if you want to protect your life, your family members' lives, your friends' lives, the most important thing you can do is get vaccinated. It's proven safe. Doctors all over the country agree it is the right thing to do, and it will save you. It will save you. And you got to couple that, not only get the vaccine, but, especially when you're out in public, wear that mask. That gives you extra protection in case somebody nearby you, has it. That'll help protect you. That'll help protect your family members. Get the vaccine, wear the mask, and that way we can crush this virus. And our governor won't give us that leadership, so I will.
And I want to get to that, Congressman, because you are an official candidate running to be the next governor of the state of Florida. So what do you see, Congressman Crist, as the top priorities that you want to tackle on day one when you're elected governor of this state?
Well, that's a great question. God forbid this virus is not any longer with us then. But if it is, that's mission one, obviously. It's life or death. And we've never had a challenge like this in more than 100 years in America. But if that's not the case, there's several things. Public education, extremely important. I'm a public school kid. 2 of my 3 sisters were public school teachers. I graduated from St. Petersburg High School. I graduated from Florida State University. I know how important it is. I call it the equal opportunity provider in our country. It's so important to all folks to get a good education and reward our teachers like they deserve. Number 2, take care of the environment. It's God's work. You take care of God's art, and it takes care of Florida. It's so vitally important to our economy. I always say that the environment and the economy in Florida are inextricably linked, because if we don't keep Florida beautiful, people will stop visiting our state, and that'll crush our tourism industry. So it's important on 2 fronts: protecting God's work and being good stewards of the land and our water, but it also protects our economy. Ethics. We have to have good ethics in government and transparency. We don't have it with this governor right now. It's the people's government. It should be open and transparent. After all, the decisions that are made, whether it's by the governor or members of the House or the Senate, they're affecting the lives of our fellow Floridians, 22 million people. And so you have to have good ethical leadership, along with protecting public education, protecting our health and our safety, protecting our environment. Really, it's being a protector. It's almost like being a father for the state. And you look out and you care and you have an open heart and compassion, the kind of leadership we get from President Joe Biden.
Absolutely. And all of those are certainly very important. And I'm so happy that you're laser focused on making sure that all of those things get accomplished. And also, Congressman, one of the challenges here in the state of Florida is access to health care. Can you speak to health care issues in your candidacy?
Yes. Absolutely. And thank God for President Obama, my dear friend, did so much with Obamacare, and now it's worn with a badge of pride because it's changed the lives of so many of our fellow Americans, brought down the cost, which needed to be done. But we got to keep up the fight. We got to lower the cost of prescription drugs. That's appalling what happens to so many Americans every day, where they have to choose between getting food on the table or getting the drugs that they need to stay alive. So healthcare is incredibly important. A great start by President Obama and then Vice President Biden, but the fight continues. And we have to make sure that we provide great health care for all of our people so that they don't get sick, they stay healthy, and can live a good quality life, not just a long life, but a good, long quality life.
All right. Well, thank you, Congressman Charlie Crist, for being on the #1 talk show here in Volusia County, Let's Chat America. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you, Mrs. Grimes. Thank you, Mrs. Cusack, for all of your leadership here in our county and everything that you're doing to make sure that we stay on top of the COVID-19 pandemic. God bless you all. Stay safe, and we'll be talking to you soon.
God bless you, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. God bless you all. Bye-bye now.
God bless you.
Bye-bye. All right, there you are, everybody. It is 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock in the afternoon here on Let's Chat America. I want to thank all of you who stayed with me for the broadcast. We had some logistics to work out today to get Congressman Charlie Crist on the air, but you know God is good and faithful, and we got him on the broadcast. Award-winning radio show today here on Joy 106.3 FM. I am your host, Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham, and I want to thank all of you for listening. It is 1 o'clock, which means my time has come. But Lord willing, next Thursday, 12 noon, same time, same channel, we'll be right back here. To my Facebook listeners, thank you. Keep praying for those who have not yet been vaccinated, that they will get out and get the vaccine. That's why Congressman Charlie Crist was in Daytona Beach today to talk to the importance of getting vaccinated, and certainly the importance of all of us understanding that, you know, personal freedoms, we all understand we want to keep our personal freedoms, but this goes beyond the selfishness that so many people are exhibiting when it comes to not getting the COVID-19 vaccine. It's not about you as much as it is about our society as a whole. This pandemic, this virus has one goal, and that is to infect as many people as it can. And are not being vaccinated, if you have not yet gotten the COVID-19 vaccine, it has been approved by the FDA. The Pfizer vaccine has gotten full approval. Get that shot so that we can protect the greater portion of our society. You heard Congressman Crist. Not only will people, when it comes to tourism in this state of Florida, it is critical to our economy. Tourism is critical to our economy. If this state continues its upward trajectory of more and more COVID infections and more COVID deaths, guess what? People are not going to be coming to this state to enjoy a vacation. They're going to be afraid to come here because they will fear getting infected with COVID-19. So if our economy is based on tourism in this state, so if we want to continue to enjoy the lifestyle that we have, the jobs that we have, the beautiful weather that we have here in this state, and welcome others to also enjoy what we have here every day, then we have to do the right thing. It's not just about your own personal protection, but it's about the protection that you will give to others around you. And you should be concerned about that. So get the vaccine. You know that I've been holding vaccine clinics in churches and other venues. Styles 101 has been a place that has had 2 vaccine clinics. Our owner of this station, Pat, opened her doors and allowed 2 vaccine events there. But we've done churches, and I'm going to continue doing more of these vaccine clinics around the county. Did one just a couple of weeks ago in DeLand. So I'm not just going to focus on Daytona Beach, but wherever I can get a door open and there's a crowd of people who are going to be there, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that our health department has people in that place so that vaccines can be given. All right. You heard my sermon for today. I gotta go. But love you all. Continue to listen to the #1 show here in Volusia County, Let's Chat America. I've been your host, the Reverend Dr. L. Ronald Durham. See you next time. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program here on Let's Chat America, broadcast from the world's most famous beach. To request Dr. Durham to speak at your event, please call 386-451-5114. Again, that's 386-451-5114. Tune in next Thursday, 12 noon, for another powerful program hour here on Joy 106.3 FM.
WAIGLP, Daytona Beach, Joy 106.